checked out. I don't care who you are. Now, what happened with me is that I went 3 years without having had an appointment with the doctor, mainly because I'm a doctor myself. My husband's a doctor. I know my body, quote unquote. We think we know what's going on. However, what I found is that, well, see, there is a huge difference between blood cancers and tumoral cancers. And you probably know the story. In 1996, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and told that my only option was surgery by the medical doctors, which I did not have. And that's when I was introduced to Dr. Valentine. And he taught me to heal myself. He put me on the Life Path program. And this was without drugs, without herbs, and without a lot of vitamins, using two most important things: proper thinking and proper nutrition. Now, that's one thing. That's breast cancer. What I had is, and I say had in the past, even though it hasn't been 5 years, and they say it really takes 5 years for you to know that you're completely healed. It's been since 2019, since 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Right? However, what I had was acute myeloid leukemia, which is a blood cancer. And there's a huge difference. So I know that's a long part of the story. I could go on and share. However, to answer your question, the main reason was to share my experience so that the family, brothers and sisters, and the world will know what they can do to be prepared for the unexpected.
Well, how did you come down with this since your diet was up to par? How did you come down with this?
Thank you for the question, because that is the question of the ages for people who know me and who know my lifestyle. One person actually said, well, if she gets cancer, we can all forget it, because they know where I stand with that and what my life has been since 1996. Okay. And I always teach that your genes are not your destiny. You can switch your genes off and on with lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that. So what's the deal? Then how did I end up there? Well, your genes are enclosed in your chromosomes. And I had 2 chromosomal anomalies that were prone to cancer. And you can't switch off your chromosomes. And we know that. And not to be controversial, but males have male chromosomes and females have female chromosomes. And no matter what you do, you cannot change those chromosomes. Now, the other question is, why did this happen then? And that's the main part of this. Because, okay, I was prepared in one way, and I'll explain that later as we get to more questions, However, the thing is that when you have an issue going on subconsciously, spiritually, metaphysically, biopsychically, you better find out what that is. Because if you've got anything negative, if you've got anger, hate, an unforgiving spirit, if you've got guilt, any one of those things can be harbored in your subconsciousness. And the reason I point subconsciousness is because I didn't even know I still had this going on, but my spirit knew. And there was a reason that it took hold. So that's how this happened. That's really the bottom line, the metaphysical behind it. The part the fact that your thoughts are really, your emotions and your thoughts are very much together, right? And your emotions are far more powerful than your thoughts. And as my husband says, are you thinking your thoughts, or are your thoughts thinking you? And that is what was going on, and allowed that cancer to go into my blood and to proliferate to the point that I almost saw my ancestors.
Yeah, that was a real deep part of it. Just I may come in here. A lot of people were saying, well, if you helped her the last time, why didn't you help her this time? Um, she lives a more healthy and fastidious life than I do. And this was something that was on a clock. It was delayed because of her lifestyle. And her brother and her mother all both passed from a similar disease. And because of their lifestyle, they could not tolerate what she went through. Because what happened was when she essentially passed on, she stopped breathing. There was no feeling, I didn't feel any life in her for the moment. And then, I did what I had to do and brought her back around. Now, like Dr. Africa said, if you get shot, you don't start making carrot juice. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Got to deal with a triage situation. We didn't know what was going on. She just began progressively feeling weaker and weaker. And this woman is the most fastidious with her nutrition, with her juice plus, and the way she eats, her exercise. She was doing, what is that,
Pure,
Pabo,
pure bar.
Pure Bar. And people who know what that is, it's a strenuous thing that these women do. And so I was saying, well, wow, what's going on with that? And I wanted to deal with a natural healing where she wanted to deal with that, but she was too far gone in that direction. And it said that there was a clock that she had inside of her that if she did not do what she was doing all the 20, 15, 25 years that I've known her, the doctor said that when they took her blood test and checked her organs, that she had, we're in our 70s, the doctor said she had the organs of a 20-year-old,
Of a 20-year-old?
of a
Yes.
20-year-old.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
the doctor gave her the option. Do you want to take this medicine for the rest of your life? Or do you want to go through the treatment that we give to 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds with your condition? She said, well, I'll go with the 20-year-old condition. And so she suffered through all of what you saw her for like 2 to 3 weeks, for a year. She went through it. And the doctor said that she was a phenomenon because people don't survive what she survived. And when we essentially got the people in the hospital to take on her natural healing processes, and she became like the queen of the walk. Everybody came into her room because she thought it was like, she set it up like an ashram. And everybody used to come in there and say, let me chill here for a minute. Please let me sit here and listen to the music and hear and smell the incense and the whole 9 yards. They gave her carte blanche. And in her book, and what we're going to show you in the webinar, are all the people who essentially supported her through that, the nurses and the doctors, and they were converted. Everybody wanted to get on the Juice Plus. They wanted to do all of that because they saw that this woman in her mid-70s went through what would have killed a natural person, a
Wow.
regular person. So
Wow.
this is the reason why I thought that it would be a great thing, and I knew she was going to do that, to write this book. And I wanted to write the book. I wanted to name it that My Lifestyle Saved My Life. And that's exactly
Mm.
what it is that essentially happened. Her lifestyle actually saved her life. And so everybody says, well, what kind of natural healer you are? You do. Look, fool, I'm gonna tell you this. When the time comes, I'm not, if I get shot or if I get stabbed, or if I get something that came up on me, even with my lifestyle, and I have to deal with triage and I have to become stabilized, I'm gonna get stabilized and then get back on the mark. I ain't gonna worry about me juicing or getting herbs and all of that. That's after the fact. So when she did
Mm.
what she did, when she went through what she went through, and survived it and went through the harshest thing, and the doctor said, matter of fact, when she went in to get, after the ambulance came and got her, after I revived her, the ambulance came, they took her blood. They didn't know what was wrong with her. They had to send away to the National Institute of Health to get their prognosis on what the heck was going on, because what she had was so rare at the time. So whatever it was that attacked her at the cellular level, at the chromosomal level, that was something we did not know about. It was like a clock that went off, like a timer that went off, that that would have been her age, and she would have been left the planet when that went off. That was her time up. And when a clock wakes you up with an alarm, the alarm would have put her to sleep forever.
Now, I'd like to clarify a couple of things. And I'm so glad that he shared this because this is the foundation of what was going on. Okay, so when I got to the hospital, they took my blood, obviously. Well, actually, they didn't take my blood. They were giving me blood because they said that my blood count was so low. They couldn't understand why I was alive. Okay. However, they said when a person comes into the hospital with this kind of condition, usually 35% of their blood is leukemic. And I want to make a strong differentiation between tumoral cancers and blood cancers. Very different. Like I said, when I had the breast cancer, he helped me heal it. Da, da, da. I've heard people say, well, I had stage 4 and I used these herbs. That's marvelous. That's wonderful. I have yet to hear of somebody who had blood cancers to this degree that I had it and survive at all with any kind of treatment. So they said usually a person has 35% of their blood being leukemic. When I arrived, 87% of my blood was cancerous.
Damn.
Almost 90% of my blood. That's why they didn't expect me. That's one reason they didn't expect me to survive. The second reason is that because of my age. And so I get to explain too, just a little more clarity or detail to what my husband was saying about why I made that choice. They said you might take this for the rest of your life, which, by the way, might be 2 years. Or you could take this really strong treatment that we don't like to give anybody, younger than 50 years old. And of course, to me, there was no option.
Older than 50 years old, you mean?
Yeah, right. Older than, older than 50. So to me, there was no option. There was no other option. And originally, because of the way our minds think, originally when we first thought about it, we were saying, well, I can go to the acupuncturist, we know what we can do naturally. And I was going to an acupuncturist for a while, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And time was of the essence. And so thankfully, I just went ahead on and went to the doctor, and that's what happened. Now, the book goes into almost just like a diary, what I was thinking at the time and what he was thinking at the time, right before I passed in a certain way and then was revived. So all of that is in the book. The book is very simply written.
And the foreword is written by Shaka Khan. Get that ready. Shaka Khan and her sister wrote the foreword because she heard, well, we know the family. And when they read her story and they heard of her story, they said they wanted to be participant because they, of course, went through their own medical issues and they came out of it, and they were in a kind of a survival group, people who survived their trials. And so they wanted to write the foreword to her book. And during the webinar, I'll read the foreword for Shaka and for her. And she might even, hopefully, might visit us. We don't know. Hopefully, she would come on.
Yeah, let me show left this realm or stop breathing or whatever term they call it. Do you have any memory out of body experiences, recollections, anything from that moment?
My memory is so clean and clear as to what I was going through. And because my husband acted so quickly, he shook me back because I went blank. And even that, what I was thinking right before everything just went black. And even that, those thoughts are in the book, in the diary of the book, of the beginning of it, because that's exactly, I remember it very clearly. I felt I was struggling. I couldn't understand what was going on. I went through some mental confusion. Now, this is right before. And then all of a sudden it was peace. And everything was just black and everything stopped. And I wasn't aware of what was going on his side. We're going to read that Tuesday night, because I'm going to read the whole first chapter, which is very brief. It's not a long book and it's not a long chapter, very brief, so that everybody will get the feeling of what exactly was going on.
Well, the metaphysics of what I was thinking about, what she was going through, where I was and where she was at the time. I checked for her breathing and, checked for her chest. Everything stopped. And I was thinking that the void that she explains that she went through, that was the door that she would have accepted if she had turned away from me. That's why I kept saying to her, I kept smacking her face.
Don't give it away.
I said, don't you go nowhere. Come here.
Give it all away.
Yeah, and she was getting ready to leave. And if she said that like you see, look in the background, you see that there's this light you have going on there. There's a blackness first, because I could remember, I can attest to it, because like I told you, back in Trinidad, I drowned and came back myself. And what happened is this blackness that happens, and then all of a sudden, there's this place that you're ending up with that, hey, I don't, this is fine. This is very cool. I don't feel anything, because your body is not with you at that time. Your consciousness steps out of the condition that you're feeling physically. And then when I started smacking her and giving her nerves a point of reference for her senses to come back to, that's when she started coming back around, and she took a deep breath at that time.
Did you give her CPR?
He's giving it all away.
No, I didn't give it everything away. I just said the CPR. I'll tell you when the time comes.
On Tuesday night and find out what he did.
Wow.
I'm just giving you the conditions. Yeah, just the conditions. It was serious. It was harrowing, but there's a thing that my mother and I used to go through, because my mother had a very bad condition with her heart. She had these anxiety attacks and had a heart condition. And she used to take me around with her sometimes when she would go to her work and places, because every time she would go through a condition, everything in me began to go cold. I lose all feelings. I lose any connections to anything. My emotions completely leave my body, and I become mechanical. I just switch into another head altogether. And I say, whatever that reality is that's going on out there, I'm going to change it, because I'm not going to have that dealing. You're not taking my wife. I told the ancestors at that time, you're not taking my wife. And so at this point, I just got cold and started smacking her, and knowing that she would come back, because, we were very close anyway. And I knew she would listen to me if she heard me.
And it's interesting because we're very similar in that way. I was, I was in Manhattan at school, actually. I was at the Swedish Institute for Massage Therapy during 9/11. And people were panicking in the hallways. And for some reason, I'm very much like my husband in that way. When something gets really threatening, that's when I become very clear, very quiet.
Excellent.
Very quiet, very clear. And it's like, this is what I do. Right? So I don't even recall hearing his voice until I came back. So in the book, in the beginning of the book, I go through what I was thinking, like I said, and then his version and my version. And so we'll get the connection as to what I was thinking and what he was thinking. But I'll tell you, I'm so grateful that we have found each other for so many reasons. We didn't meet when we were young. And however, everything has its right time, for sure.
Mhm.
We were meant to have the children that we have with the mates that we had, with the partners, husband and his wife, who's a friend of mine. She's a sweetheart.
Mhm.
We have missions. We both had missions to accomplish, and then because we have such things that we are so similar in what we did. We were both entertainers. We both did music. We were both you did acting on stages, and we were both into metaphysics, into natural healing. Everything essentially was like I met up, and that's why every time somebody has a birthday, we sing to them in harmony, and they wonder, "Oh, how y'all sound good together?" Like you say, yeah, it's because we were both singers at one point. So it was. It seems like this was a kind of a path that we began helping me, and I began to find my peace when she came into my life. I was able
Mm.
to do things that allowed me to rest from worrying about too many things going on around me, if you understand what I mean. And what she did was afford me the ability to get back into writing my book